What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here with an episode Out of My Element, where you guys get to pick the album that I review. And the winner of the poll for this video is My Chemical Romance, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Before I get into this, sorry it's been so long since I've made a video. Work has just been kicking my ass, but I definitely want to get back on that schedule of at least one video a week for you guys. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But this was a poll that was only given to my Patreon supporters. As you guys are probably aware of by now, there's one Out of My Element video that all of you guys get to vote on, and then there's another that only my patrons get to vote on. So yeah, they wanted me to talk about this album, and I get why this won. I think the common understanding from you guys is that I hate this band. And that's kind of based on something very specific that I'll get into in a bit. But I actually remember when this album came out, 2004. And I remember when I first heard the band in depth. I'd seen bits and pieces of the I'm Not Okay video and was like, nope, it's just not for me. But I went over a buddy's house, and 2 of my friends were over there, friends that are, they're my age, and they were playing this music that I really just did not like. And I was like, what are you guys listening to? And they were like, oh, this is My Chemical Romance. And I was like, the I'm Not Oh Fucking K band? Are you guys fucking serious? So I didn't know much about this band at all. I just knew that, people who were much younger than me were really into them. It was mostly, those Hot Topic mall punk kind of kids. The kids who wear those pants with the straps that attach the legs together, which I've never understood, because, like, how do you run, from the cops or responsibility? This was also around the time that the term emo was getting thrown around really loosely, and I'd heard bands like The Used and Panic at the Disco and My Chemical Romance referred to as emo a lot from kids. Now, for someone who's a bit older than these guys and whose idea of emo was shit like Frail and Mineral and Promise Ring and Lincoln, I just didn't get how this weird kind of alternative radio rock band was being called emo. Again, I knew nothing of these bands except hearing maybe a song or two of each, but to me, emo it was not. Now, of course, I know I sound like a gatekeeper, but trust me, I honestly don't care enough about the emo genre to gatekeep it. I really don't. I just never understood how these labels got attached to these bands. So let's get into the album. So on my run through, a few of the songs that played, I actually remembered from hearing back in the day. Of course, Helena, a song that's a tribute to the singer's dead grandmother and his anger at himself for not being there for her while she was dying, which is something I can definitely relate to, not necessarily with my grandmother, but I had that feeling with friends that have passed. But the song itself, musically, isn't bad at all. The riffs are driving, the drums are really well done. I'm not super duper into the vocals on this song, but they work with the music, and I think the lyrics are actually fantastic. Came a time when every starfall brought you to tears again. We are the very hurt you sold. That's great. Now, I've never read interviews or anything with these guys, but it felt to me like a statement on each day passing being harder and harder to get through for the person that's dying. A person who just wants to die to get away from the pain and not really considering how this would affect those that they left behind. The next song, Give 'Em Hell Kid, was a bit of a step down for me. I didn't like this one nearly as much as the first song, but I could get how people could get attached to it. The hook is insanely catchy, but the verses, I think, ruin it for me. I didn't like the kind of whiny tone that he's using. Some of the guitar work is kind of cool here, but the vocals on the verses just ruin it for me. Didn't like To the End either. I wasn't into the vocal patterns he was using or the guitar parts as much. But here I can kind of see the influence of older, punk emo bands, bands like Promise Ring or Texas is the Reason. And no, I'm not saying that it sounds exactly like that, but if you turn those bands up and make them a little bit heavier, I can see how it's similar, I felt the same way about the opening riff on the song. It's not a fashion statement, it's a death wish. But back to the song To the End. The song is also interesting because I read it's a take on A Rose for Emily, which is a story by Faulkner, which I think is actually pretty cool. The references are pretty clear, you know, talking about drinking cyanide and the groom not really loving the bride as much because he's actually in love with other men. Say goodbye to the vows you take. Say goodbye to the life you make. And say goodbye to the hearts you break and all the cyanide you drank. Now let's talk about I'm Not Okay. Yeah, this is a song that I really don't like on this album. I'm not a fan of the chords that are used here or just the general sound of the song. It's just not my thing. I think it works though for what it is, meaning I can see how this would be extremely attractive for some people, but it doesn't speak to me, except the lead on this song, which is an opinion that I have that could be applied to just about any of the other songs, which is the leads are great, man. Especially the one on this particular song. It's very cinematic, but you can also tell that the guitarist is a fan of some traditional heavy metal. At least he likes Iron Maiden or, you know, even some Yngwie Malmsteen, which I definitely hear here. But the lyrics on the song, they do nothing for me. I get he's talking about someone who's just dumping all of their problems onto him while he has plenty of his own problems that he's dealing with, which again I can definitely relate to. But the presentation here, it doesn't call my name. You know, not trying to be insulting at all, but it comes off a little bit amateurish, even in compared to the rest of the songs on this album. But you know a fucking song that does work for me, a song that I think is absolutely incredible. Thank You for the Venom. This is the one that follows that total Radiohead-ish kind of interlude. But man, when that opening riff for Thank You for the Venom comes on, god damn, this shit sounds like fucking Dark Tranquillity to me. And it's awesome. And the drum work on this song is top notch, man. The riffs throughout the song are really good. And this song really shows one of their strengths. And I think that strength is they're really good at chord progression and transitions. Like the way it goes from the verse into the chorus of this song is extremely well done. It flows like water. And it's just a really good song, man. And I can't front. I listened to this song back to back on my first time through. And I love the opening lyrics. Sister, I'm not much of a poet, but a criminal, and you never had a chance. I assume the first line is a reference to Morrissey's Sister, I'm a Poet, which is a bit of a deep cut for Morrissey, so I thought that was actually pretty cool. And the next song, Hang 'Em High, is another really good one. I think the riffs on this song are great. How the two guitarists are playing off of each other is really dope. I think they're a really tight band, and they're really showing it on this song. Again, they're showing their strengths with transitions and even throwing in some kind of wacky, like, what the fuck is going on here type parts, but it really, really works. However, I didn't care for Cemetery Drive. I didn't care for the riffs here, especially what they're doing behind the verses, and I didn't really like the vocal performance on this song either. It's to me one of the weakest songs on this album. But I really, really, really liked the last song, I Never Told You What I Do for a Living. This one is full of incredible riffs. This is one that you can't help but bob your head to while you're listening. And again, fantastic drum work. The drummer is really, really good. I haven't read reviews for this album or anything, so I don't know if he gets his props, but he's really creative with fills and such, and he shows it a lot on this song. And on this song, I actually think the vocal performance is fantastic. It's the best, in my opinion, on this entire album. He's snotty at moments, he's very dramatic at other moments, and then there's a part where he's just frantic and he sounds unhinged, and it actually sounds natural and believable. But it's great, man. It's pretty much the perfect closer for this album. But overall, I actually think this is a good album. Surprise, surprise, you guys. As I said at the beginning, people seem to think that I hate this album and I hate this band because I make the jokes about the emo classification. But no, I don't hate this band at all. You know, I never even really cared to listen to them like that. But yeah, my jokes are really just circled around. I never understood the whole classification thing. I always thought it was weird. This band just always seemed like kind of like a mall punk band to me. I never connected the whole emo thing. And I don't know if that was more based on how they looked versus how they sounded, because I know emo became far more of a statement of fashion than it did music. So there's that. But honestly, it's really not that big of a deal. I don't really care about the classification, even if it confuses me, because again, it's just a good rock album. I think the musicians are all very good at their instruments, the guitarists, the drummer. They're just super solid. And again, they're a really tight band. And overall, I just think they're really good songwriters. They have a great way of putting together songs from riff to riff that just flows really well. And the singer, Gerard, has an interesting voice that I like depending on how he uses it on certain songs. He can come across a bit whiny at times, which may also lend to the whole emo thing. Sometimes he can be very dramatic, but depending on the song, I think he sounds really good. But yeah, this isn't something that I would necessarily return to often. It's not really my kind of music, but if this came on, I wouldn't necessarily turn it off. You know, I'm actually a little bit surprised at how much I enjoyed this versus what I thought I was walking into. So I'm glad this won the poll. But yeah. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this album. I know this is heralded as a classic, and it's heralded as an album that changed a lot of people's lives, and I do get it. So drop your comments down there about what you think. There's also a poll for the next video down there in the description section, and I promise the next video will not be 2 months from now. I'm definitely going to try to get on it. Definitely going to try. See how I gave myself some wiggle room? I'm a dick like that. But yeah, as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Peace out.